Let's segue into the special information gathering requirement for mortgage brokers. Because discrimination can be such a delicate issue, it would be tempting to avoid bringing up these issues when taking a mortgage application. However, the portion of the Code of Federal Regulations made by the board sets out a requirement for collecting certain information for monitoring purposes. A creditor that receives an application for credit primarily for the purchase or refinancing of a dwelling occupied or to be occupied by the applicant as a principal residence, where the extension of credit will be secured by the dwelling, in other words, a mortgage loan, shall request as part of the application the following information regarding the applicants. The first piece of information required is the applicant's race or national origin using the following categories: American Indian or Alaskan Native, Asian or Pacific Islander, Black, White, Hispanic, or other, which must be specified. A creditor must also request information on the applicant's sex. A creditor will additionally request information on the applicant's marital status using the categories married, unmarried, which includes never married, divorced, and widowed, and separated. Finally, a creditor must request information on the applicant's age. Questions about race or national origin, sex, marital status, and age may be listed at the creditor's option on the application form or on a separate form that refers to the application. The applicant or applicants must be asked but are not required to supply the requested information. If the applicant chooses not to provide the information or any part of it, that fact must be noted on the form. In this case, the creditor must note on the form, to the extent possible, the race or national origin and sex of the applicant on the basis of visual observation and the name of the applicant. The creditor must inform the applicant that the information is being requested by the federal government for the purpose of monitoring compliance with federal statutes that prohibit creditors from discriminating against applicants on those bases. The creditor shall also inform the applicant that if the applicant chooses not to provide the information, the creditor is required to note the race or national origin and sex on the basis of visual observation and/or name. A monitoring program required by a governmental agency responsible for administrative enforcement of ECOA under the section may be substituted for these requirements. When giving an applicant information about non-discrimination, including his or her right not to answer questions about race, sex, national origin, etc., a creditor may want the applicant to sign a form stating that he or she has been provided this information. This practice will avoid later disputes over whether the applicant was given the required disclosures. If the information is given to the applicant via email or a website, an electronic signature, as defined under the e-Sign Act, satisfies any requirement for an applicant's signature or initials. One question that does get asked a lot is whether you may ask about the immigration status of a person from another country. The answer is, while though a creditor may not discriminate based upon national origin, it is permissible to consider an applicant's immigration status when reviewing a loan application. If, for example, an applicant is in the U.S. on a 2-year visa but is applying for a 30-year mortgage loan, you may certainly ask about the probability of the person remaining in the U.S. long enough to repay that loan.